There is nothing more frustrating than a washing machine that's just full of clothes and suddenly stops working. If your Whirlpool washer is flashing some mysterious code at you, don't panic. We're going to break down exactly what it means and, more importantly, how you can fix it.
And there it is, the code that just brings laundry day to a screeching halt. Seeing F7E7 flashing on your display, yeah, it can look a little intimidating, but it's actually a very specific clue. Your washer is trying to tell you something, and in this explainer, we're going to learn its language and tackle this thing together.
So, if that screen looks familiar, you are definitely in the right place. Think of this as a step-by-step diagnostic journey. We're going to follow the evidence from the simplest possible reset all the way to a definitive test to find the real culprit behind this error code. Okay, let's dive right in. Before we start unplugging anything, we really need to understand what this error code is actually saying. What is our machine trying to tell us? So what does F7E7 actually mean? Well, in the simplest terms, it's a motor triac fault. Let's break that down. Think of the main control board as the washer's brain. The triac is like a tiny, high-tech power switch that the brain uses to tell the motor when to spin. So this error means the brain has detected a serious problem with that switch, or maybe the wiring connected to it. The control board is on the lookout for a few specific failures. It might be a broken connection in that little power switch we talked about, or maybe it's getting confusing signals coming back from the motor. At the end of the day, the power just isn't getting to the motor correctly. That's the key takeaway here. This is an electronic fault, which is why the machine shuts down completely as a safety measure.
All right, let's move on to our first and, fingers crossed, easiest step in the investigation. Before we break out any tools, we're going to try a simple electronic reset. Just to see if we can clear a temporary glitch.
Now, the procedure itself is simple, but the timing is key. First, unplug the washer directly from the wall outlet. And I mean it, you have to wait at least 10 to 15 minutes. This wait is crucial because it allows these tiny components called capacitors, which act like little temporary batteries, to fully drain. This completely clears the control board's memory and gives it a true fresh start. After you've waited, plug it back in and try to run a cycle. Okay, so if the code comes back right away, well, our easy fix didn't work. But that's actually valuable information. It tells us this isn't some random glitch, we're dealing with a real, persistent hardware problem. So it's time to roll up our sleeves and dig a little deeper. Okay, so our investigation now moves from the digital to the physical. We're going to look for actual, tangible clues on the machine itself, focusing on the motor and all the wires that connect it back to the brain. And I absolutely cannot stress this enough. For your safety, before you move the machine or open any panels, make absolutely certain it is completely unplugged from the wall. Seriously, no exceptions. First thing, reach in there and just spin the wash basket by hand. Does it move smoothly, or does it feel kind of stuck or grindy? A seized motor can definitely trigger this error. Next, we're going to inspect the wiring. Take a look at the harness connecting the motor and the board. Do you see any melted connectors, any frayed wires? A bad wire can send all sorts of faulty signals and cause this exact problem. All right, this next part is maybe the most critical step of our entire investigation. We are going to interrogate the motor using a multimeter to get a final, definitive answer about its health. So why are we doing this? Look, a new control board can cost upwards of $200, and you do not want to buy one, only to find out the motor was the real problem all along. This quick, 5-minute test is the single best way to avoid a very expensive misdiagnosis. Okay, grab your multimeter and set it to measure resistance, which is shown by that little omega symbol for ohms. This basically just tests how easily electricity can flow through something. With the motor wiring unplugged from the board, you'll test the electrical paths inside the motor by touching the probes to the different terminals. And finally, you'll do a quick safety check by testing from each of those terminals to the metal motor casing, just to see if electricity is leaking where it shouldn't be. And this right here shows you exactly what you're looking for. It's pretty black and white. A healthy motor is going to give you a low resistance reading. But if you see OL for that main test, or you get any reading at all on that safety ground test we just talked about, you've found your culprit. The motor has failed. It's that simple. So, we've done the reset, we've done the physical inspection, and we've done the interrogation. Now it's time to review all the evidence we've gathered and deliver the final verdict to pinpoint the exact cause and its solution. Now here's a really crucial piece of context. In about 70% of these cases, the F7E7 error is in fact caused by a failed main control board. And that's exactly why we test the motor first, to be absolutely sure we're in that 70% before we go spending money on that expensive part.
And this is your ultimate cheat sheet. If your motor tested good and that error pops up right at startup, you can be pretty confident it's the control board. If your motor failed the multimeter test, well, then you need a new motor. And if you found any visible damage to the wires, then the wiring harness is the part to replace. Just match your findings to this chart and you'll know exactly what to do next.
So, after all this investigation, you're now empowered. You have the knowledge to make an informed decision, you know how to diagnose the problem, and you know what part it most likely needs. The final question is really for you. Are you ready to tackle the repair yourself, or is it time to call on a professional? Either way, you're no longer in the dark. Good luck and happy washing.